So I'm going to be talking about my stance on applied behavior analysis. So we're going to start with what is applied behavior analysis therapy. And according to the article, Stout wrote that it is based on the principles of learning by B.F. Skinner, which is you reward a wanted behavior and punish an unwanted behavior. So ABA in its most basic sense focuses on increasing positive behaviors and decreasing negative or harmful behaviors. And she specifically mentioned rewards and punishments in there, so I just kind of want to run through what that means in accordance with B.F. Skinner. So rewards are stimulus given to someone in order to increase a behavior. So there's positive and negative rewards. Positive rewards is something added to an environment in order to increase a behavior, and negative rewards are something taken away from the environment to increase a behavior. Punishments are the opposite. So punishment's not necessarily what you think. It can be. It's not always like a spanking or something necessarily negative in that sense, but it's specifically a stimulus given to someone in order to decrease a behavior. So a positive punishment is something added to the environment in order to decrease a behavior. And a negative punishment is something taken away from an environment to decrease a behavior. So just an example, positive punishment could be something such as a teacher standing, an extra teacher in the room. That way kids are less likely to mess around. A negative punishment could be something like taking away free time if a student's messing around. The same outcome should happen, different types of punishments there though. So there were 3 controversial points. The first one was forcing behaviors, even if a student is having obvious distress, and the behavioral therapist would sometimes not allow coping skills. The second was eliminating non-harmful or adaptive behaviors that are unusual. So some of that could be stimming or messing up some things. And then the strict use of reinforcers, using the reinforcers only during therapy or only as a reinforcer. So the big question she kept asking was, would you do these same things to a neurotypical child? So I'm going to go back to the slide we were just at and kind of run through that. Forcing behaviors, you wouldn't force behaviors on anyone if they were showing obvious distress. At least I'd hope not. That, in my sense, is just unreasonable. And no one really should disallow coping skills, because even neurotypical people have coping skills regardless of what it may be. Everybody has coping skills. Everybody should be able to use those. Eliminating non-harmful adaptive behaviors that are unusual. I don't think this is necessarily, again, something that you need to do. Again, if they're non-harmful behaviors, regardless of if they're unusual or not, as long as they're not interfering with your life daily and, again, are non-harmful, there's really no reason that should be eliminated. However, if the behaviors become harmful and are distracting or really interfering with your life every day, then maybe they need to be lessened, regardless of whether you have autism or if you're neurotypical. That's just something that honestly should probably be done with anybody. And strict use of reinforcers. I don't think you should necessarily use reinforcers only during therapy with anybody, regardless of if you are neurotypical or not. But parents use reinforcers all the time. Using something only as a reinforcer, I don't really encourage either. But again, I think that's kind of based on what parents think, because there are some things that I think are allowed to be only reinforcers that maybe others aren't. Like one of the ones she said in there was affection. Affection shouldn't be only a reinforcer. However, it might be a situation where a child wants to cuddle with you and they have things they need to get done. It's okay to say, you need to get this done and then we can cuddle, that kind of thing. So my ultimate opinion, if it's right for your child, use applied behavior analysis. 100% use it. I am 100% for it. However, do your research, figure out what kind of applied behavior analysis therapy is right, because there's multiple types, and do your research on your therapists. always, always, always find the right therapist, because some therapists are going to work really well with your child and some are not. And don't be afraid to say, hey, I don't really love that this is what you're doing with my child. Like, maybe there's just one little thing that you want to change. Don't be afraid to tell them that. Give your opinion. And if they don't like that, maybe you need a new therapist. I 100% though think applied behavior analysis should be used. I think it's a great tool, but just make sure that you're doing your research and you know who is working with your child.